Alright, I'm going to be going through the review that I gave you guys in class today. This is for the test that you're going to be taking tomorrow in class. So let's go ahead and get started. So here with number 1, I'm just going to highlight the basic information. 7,500 toys, 350 already in the sleigh, and 85 per hour. Now the only other thing that we would need to know here is the inequality phrase, no less than. So what that means for us is we don't want the less than inequality. We want greater than. So like, for example, 8,000 is a number that's greater than 7,500. So like that's a possible number of toys that you could have here. So for instance, if this is the number of toys, like the 350 plus however many per hour, then that would be, if that amount were 8,000, then this inequality would make no sense. 7,500 is greater than 8,000. That's not true. That inequality is wrong because of that. Moving on to B, well, that's supposed to be 85 per hour, so that's out. C, okay, so the numbers are good. If this were 8,000, that again, that's 8,000 is less than 7,500. That doesn't make sense as an inequality here. D, so this is the total number of toys. So if the total number of toys is 8,000, then, okay, 7,500 is less than 8,000. That's correct. That inequality makes sense. So because 8,000 is a possible number that we could have, it's not less than 7,500, I'm using that number to check the inequalities. So I use that here for D, check it, yep, it's good. So D is going to be my correct answer. Moving on to number 2. Here for 2, you are asked to graph, so that's what I'm going to walk through first. First, we're going to have to solve for y for that, though. That means getting rid of this 6x and getting rid of this -2. So just like all the other times we've done this, opposites, eliminate that, moves it over. Now I saw some of this today. You're not actually subtracting those two. This has an x, that's a number. Can't combine them. So that's what I end up with. Still solving for y. Still got to get rid of this -2. Now I'll move on to my division. Now, because I've changed signs, because here I'm dividing with a negative sign, I'm also going to have to change my inequality sign. That's just a rule of inequalities. You divide by a negative, you change the inequality sign. Okay, so now I'm going to be able to graph this. Now, the only thing is that because I'm dealing with an inequality, I'm going to have to apply inequality rules here. There is no equal to for this inequality. That tells me I'm going to have a dashed line. And this is a less than inequality, which tells me that the lower portion of the inequality is going to be shaded, or the graph. So now, moving on to actually graphing it, my y-intercept is 2, 2. My slope is 3 over 1, so 3, 1. Okay. I'm going to draw a dashed line there. Yeah, I'm just estimating this. Alright. Now, shade it in. This is the less than portion. It's underneath the graph. Now, the other part of this question is whether or not this point is in the solution set. So looking at the graph here, the point is 0, 2, so 0, 2. So that's actually this point that's here, that's on the line. Now, this inequality isn't equal to, so that means I can't actually count any point that's on the line. I would only be able to count anything that's in the shaded area below the graph. So no, this point is not part of the solution set. Okay, moving on. Number 3. Number 3, honestly, there's your table. Use stat. You'll get, what you usually get when you use stat. It'll spit out an equation. You get some numbers, so like 2 and b equals 1. So something like that. That just means that you're substituting those numbers in, so that'd be y equals 2x, because that's the a value, plus 1, because that's the b value. I will have instructions on how to use the stat function up on the board during the test. The only other thing here would be the correlation coefficient, and that's the r value that you use, or that you get when you use the stat function. You just have to go into the catalog, second 0, and then scroll down and find diagnostic on. And once you find that, you'll have to enter twice. That'll turn on diagnostic and you'll have that R value calculated. Okay, so that's through to number 3. There's really not a whole lot else here. You know, there's X, there's Y. Numbers go in, stat, turn the diagnostic on to get your R value. Moving on to number 4. Now, number 4 is a little bit different of a question, something that we haven't asked y'all in a while. So let's go ahead and get started. Point is 3, -1. So 1, 2, 3, -1. Draw a line parallel to the y-axis. So here's my y-axis. Here's the point. So I'm going to, y-axis is straight up and down, so that's how I'm going to draw this line. Alright, well, some information you can already pull out of here is, well, the y-intercept, there is none. This isn't going to touch the y-axis, so I can't say that there's a y-intercept. Other things, so like the slope, you have 4 options. There's a positive slope, there's a negative slope, there's a 0 slope, and then there's the undefined, straight up vertical. That's the slope that we're dealing with right here. So over here I'm going to go ahead and write in just undefined. And now the actual equation. So I talked with a few people over this in class. I'm going to try to make this quick. If I were to pick other points that are on this line, then each of those points, so like 3, 3, 3, 1, 3, 1, and 3, -1, 3, -1. All of those points have something in common. Their x value is 3. And in fact, any other point that you would pick has to have an x value of 3 and then whatever y value you choose after that. So the only thing you're going to be able to say here is that the x value is 3. There's your equation. Okay, it's different from what we've normally been giving you. You're not going to use y equals because it's an undefined slope and there's no y-intercept. Alright, so moving on to number 5. You guys probably haven't seen a number line like this in a while, maybe since last year, but I'm just going to go through the process of doing the actual solving here. So distribute. So a lot of people were able to do that, but then just kind of puttered out and said, well, I don't know what to do from here. Well, we've got 2 x values. Now, that's a problem because we only want one x value, or one x term, sorry. So then what we're going to do is eliminate one of those. Gone. Okay, so -3x minus 1x is going to be -4x. Now this is solving like any other equation or inequality that we've ever solved. Sorry about that. So -4x minus 6 greater than 10. All right, plus 6 to eliminate that, plus 6, so that's a 16. Going to need to divide by that negative, divide by that negative. Gone, change the sign, divided by a negative here, change by inequality. Okay, so that's what I'm dealing with now. Now on this number line, we're going to find all the numbers that are, well, less than 4, or -4, sorry. So for example, 0 is not less than -4. So 0 is not a number that works. So if we're talking about -4 here, then numbers that would be less than would be like negative 5. So like negative 5, I'm sorry, negative 5 is less than negative 4. See, so that's a number that makes sense there. So this is the direction that we're going to go in. All these numbers are less than. So starting from 4, and I'm circling 4, I'm not going to use a solid dot because this is not equal to, all right? From negative 4, all the less than values are in that direction. So that's how I'm going to draw this line. We're going to give you a question exactly like this on your test tomorrow. Number 6 is graph it and come up with a solution. Really, that's just going to take you solving for y here. So subtract that over. Gone to y. That's a negative x. There's an invisible 1 there. It's 12. Still solving for y. Get rid of the 2. Okay, so now y equals, that's a negative 1/2 x plus 6. Now graphing this first one, I'm going to do these in 2 different colors. So y-intercept of 3, 1, 2, 3, and a slope of 1 over 4. So that's up 1 over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do that on the other side too. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so I've got a good idea of what that line looks like. Now thinking about the other one, y-intercept of 6. So 6, and the slope is negative 1 over 2. So that's down 1 and over 2. So down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. And you can already see where this overlap is. There's my solution where those two meet. All right, and that solution is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So my solution would be 4, 4. All right, there we go. That's everything I have for the review. I hope that was helpful. Good luck on the test tomorrow.